Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is Sohini from South Bay, California, or your career coach. And today we will be talking about a more psychological aspect of the job search, or being in the AI ML domain anyways, and that is how to deal with rejection. Right now, times are harder than before. It's unprecedented. Searches is harder, but not just search. We all as engineers, to some degree, we cope with rejection, and everybody copes with rejection or bad news in different ways. And I've been talking to some of the subscribers who've been reaching out to me, and some of the times it's just talking about stories. Maybe if we share our stories with one another, maybe something resonates, and that could really help put someone else to peace. So today I wanted to talk about some of the ways in which we can help one another in order to build this community where we support one another and we know we have the tools to deal with rejection or bad news. So if this is of interest to you, please like and subscribe to this channel. Okay, so you had a bad day, or let's say you had a bad week. Most of the time when we have something like that, or we have to process information like that, our brain wants one of two things. One is, that's it, let's everything just end right here. I don't want to see another person. I don't want to talk about it. I just want all of this to end right now. I just want to bury my head in the pillow and that's it. Or you just, the instinct, the fight or flight instinct kicks in and say, okay, just get me out of here. For some reason, just somehow, let's just figure out a way out of this. And I had something very similar this week. It was extremely disappointing news, and I didn't know how to process it. I mean, essentially, I was so upset. There was such amount of high cortisone that was being pumped into my system that I was not getting any amount of shut eye, and it was extremely depressing. I was tired, but then really not able to do anything. And again, as much as I've been in academia, I've been in industry, I've been working for a long time, I've been there, done that. I can say that, but it happens to everyone. So how do we process it? One thing that I've seen is very useful to have a very strong support system. So there should be always someone that you can call. It could be your parents, it could be your partner, it could be a colleague, it could be a boss, or someone at work, or a friend. Someone that you can call at any time of day and just let it all go, and say this is what happened and I'm upset, and it's okay to talk about it. More so now because of social distancing, because people being shut off in their houses, it's very easy to spiral from that bad news or that depressed state into clinical depression. And you don't want to go there. So know that it's extremely easy, and it's happening a lot around the world. Mental health is actually something that is extremely important, and and you have no control over it if you spiral into it once. So it's extremely important to have at least a few people, 1 to 2 people, who you can talk at any time of day, and they'll understand without any judgment as to what you were trying to achieve and what happened. So that's definitely point number 1. For me, that is just playing with my 2-year-old, and I see him and all the tension and everything just melts away because I see him being happy at everything. So sometimes that is just the way to clear your head. The second thing that I would say is, if you see the same pattern being repeated again and again and again. So let's say that you've been trying you've been out in the job market for some time, and if you see the same pattern, that means people are ghosting you, or initially they're approaching you, you send their resume, and then no callbacks or anything. You need to, after some time, and I'm not saying that do that right away, but after you've been at it for like 3-4 months, you need to understand that something needs to change, and that change is not going to happen by another work experience, because nobody is willing to give you that experience. Maybe in these cases, doing a short course, or going back to school, or figuring out what else you can do in order to increase your skill set, that becomes super important. And as much as the jobs are being cut, and people are being forced to rethink their career options. I had my PhD. I was a professor at University of Washington, but then after I jobbed industry. But even in industry, I wanted something more, so that's why I went back to school to get my mini MBA, and that's just something I wanted to enhance my resume in order to get my mind open and to meet with like-minded cohorts and see how that actually improved my career. So if things are not going your way, if you think that there's a pattern to it, and again every single time the same reasons of rejection are coming back, then it's time for you to take stock and say, okay, how can I remove that and improve my profile in some way or the other. So and it could be taking some certification courses or taking some online courses or going back to school, or at least counseling about it, because that might be super important and useful. And the third thing that I wanted to point out is ghosting. I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar with it or not. So ghosting is a process where when maybe you're reached out by and this happens actually both ways. So let's say you're reached out by a recruiter, you send your resume, and then you never heard back from them, or no feedback, no nothing, or you had your first round of interview call and then no feedback, and you've tried to reach out, but they just elude you. So I would say that that's happening more in the industry right now. So just knowing about it helps, but there are something else that you can do as an applicant or as a job seeker that can be helpful. So not take it to heart, not take it personally. And it's hard to do in the moment, and I can assure you I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard to think that it's me, but it's not you, it's just the situation. So don't take it personally, and sometimes just send a very a very casual email or maybe a message to the recruiter or the hiring manager saying, thank you for your time, and I understand, and if I don't hear back, I will understand, but if I could get some feedback, I would highly appreciate it. And what I've seen is right now people are a little more sensitive. So it is possible that if you attract more honey, you attract more flies with honey, rather than with a dagger. So in that case, if you write that short message saying that thank you for your time, I would really appreciate if you could give me some feedback. If I don't hear back from you, also thank you anyways. That would really probably instill something in the other person, and you might hear back. But what I'm saying is put the feedback together, because even though feedback might be non-existing or very sparse, but if you see a pattern to it, if people are saying that they're not calling you because of XYZ, or if it's X only, then probably that's one direction you need to show more experience, and that's probably where getting some training, getting some mentorship that you can then write in your resume as something that you have actually shown delivery towards would be helpful. So if we do these three things, it helps. At least it has helped me, and it has helped my near and dear ones to process and then get ahead of it, because that's all we want. We want to control this level of cortisol in our body, and we want to then figure out the best strategy to move forward. So I would say, don't worry, hang in there. Everybody, we are all going through this. And if you can share your stories, if you would like me to share your stories to the community, please do reach out, because you have no idea when something might resonate with someone else, and someone might take heart to it. I've also seen these encouraging stories sometimes work the other way around as well, because of course if you are constantly getting rejected and if you see someone else finally they got the job, you might get irritated again. Hey, it's not happening for me. Good for you, man, but it's not happening for me. I get that as well. So in that case, the only thing you need to see that maybe there's something else or some other way you need to approach the problem, or get some other certification or something else that you can show for in order to bridge that gap and become that next success story. So success story is the way in which you judge yourself. So I would really ask everyone to be nicer to yourself. It's easy for us to judge ourselves more critically, so be nice to yourself. Apply these three ways in which you can get ahead of the sadness and the disappointment curve, and I wish us all luck going forward. Thanks so much. See you next week.